on m③Yu and go through everything that changed in this latest round of hotfix adjustments. If you've been following m③Yu's development throughout the beta, you probably already know that she has been going through a lot of back and forth changes. Some updates buff certain parts of her kit, while others heavily tone things down. This newest hotfix continues that trend, bringing a mixture of buffs and nerfs that slightly reshape how her kit performs overall. Let's start with her hold basic attacks. Her hold basic attack 1 and 2 multiplier values have been decreased, with reductions of around 44% and 195% respectively. This means those two parts of her hold basic sequence now deal noticeably less damage than before. However, there's one interesting change here. By the way, LD Shop just dropped a massive 35% discount for Monochrome. All you need is just your server and game UID. Seriously guys, if you need an affordable top-up that are also super fast and reliable, LD Shop is the way to go. Click the link below now and claim another 15% off for new user. Her third basic attack, which functions as her coordinated attack, actually received a buff. Previously, the coordinated attack multiplier was 1022.3% plus 1022.3%, but it has now been increased to 1022.3% plus 1174.8%. That second portion of the multiplier received a pretty noticeable boost, which slightly raises the overall damage output of that part of the combo. Quite a significant increase on her multiplier, with a slightly bigger value on her coordinated attack, which makes it a buff at the very least. So while the earlier parts of the sequence lost some power, the coordinated attack now hits harder, which could make the final portion of her combo feel a bit more impactful during combat. Unfortunately, when we move over to the day's values, the situation looks a lot less favorable. The day's multipliers on her hold basic attack 1 to 3, as well as her coordinated attack, have been reduced quite significantly. The reductions range from about 14% on hold basic attack 1, 131% on hold basic attack 2, and around 248% for both hold basic attack 3 and her coordinated attack. When you add everything up, some of these changes represent a very large drop in total days generation. For a character whose role heavily revolves around stunning enemies, this is a pretty important change. That is another round of nerf to her most essential kit, which is her day's multiplier, up to 360% days lost on one of its multiplier. This will make her slowly getting worse and worse, not completely unusable. But with what it could have been, it's just unbelievable how much they nerfed her again and again. Next, we move to her EX special ability, which also received a fairly noticeable nerf. Her EX special multiplier value has been reduced from 1473.5% down to 1066.5%. That's a pretty big drop in raw damage potential for one of her key active abilities. On top of that, the day's value attached to this ability has also been lowered, going from 696% down to 622.2%. While it's not quite as dramatic as the multiplier change, it still contributes to the overall reduction in her stun capability. However, the developers did include a small buff in another part of her kit. Her ultimate ability received a very slight increase. The ultimate multiplier value has been raised from 4171.1% to 4177.1%. At the same time, the day's value of her ultimate also increased slightly from 1775.3% to 1778.5%. It's such a tiny buff that it certainly didn't compensate the days lost from her basic attacks. They didn't really balance her that well in this round of update. Realistically, the ultimate buff is extremely small compared to the amount of days she lost elsewhere in her kit. So while it technically counts as a buff, it doesn't really shift her overall performance in any meaningful way. Now let's move on to her core passive, which did receive a more noticeable improvement. Her team damage buff has been increased from 15% to 20%. This means m③Yu now provides a stronger damage boost to the entire team when her passive effect is active. This is definitely a welcome change because team-wide buffs are always valuable, especially in coordinated team compositions. But still, it could have been 30%, just like her early version. Next, we look at her remake mechanics, which also saw a few adjustments. Her remake stack generation per second has been slightly buffed, increasing from 3.5 to 3.8 stacks per second. This means she can gradually build up her resource a bit faster over time during combat. However, the stack generation when applying anomaly effects has been reduced from 15 stacks down to 12. So while passive generation is slightly improved, her burst stack generation from anomalies has been toned down. This kind of trade-off adjustment is something we see pretty often during data balancing. The developers might be trying to smooth out her resource flow rather than allowing large bursts of stacks to accumulate too quickly. Her additional ability also received a few changes. The anomaly buildup rate applied to stunned enemies has been buffed from 20% to 30%, which is a pretty nice increase. This means that once an enemy is stunned, Nangongyou can apply anomaly buildup more effectively. However, her additional ability chain attack anomaly buildup rate to stunned enemies was reduced from 40% down to 30%. So again, this change introduces another balancing trade-off. One effect becomes stronger while another is toned down. Another nerf appears in her polarity disorder mechanic. The damage dealt by polarity disorder has been reduced from 25% of the original damage down to 20%. While that might not seem like a huge difference at first glance, it still slightly lowers the burst potential of her anomaly interactions. On the positive side, one mechanical improvement has been added to her kit. Nangongyou can now apply her stun extension effect through her ultimate ability. This is actually a pretty nice quality of life change because it makes her entire kit feel more connected. Previously, her ultimate sometimes felt like a separate action that didn't fully tie it to the rest of her stun mechanics. Now, by allowing her ultimate to apply the stun extension effect, the ability integrates more naturally into her gameplay flow. Instead of feeling like an isolated attack, it now contributes directly to her core gameplay role. Finally, let's talk about her Mindscape, which also received several buffs in this hotfix. Her Mindscape 1 resistance shred buff has been increased from 16% to 18%. This means Mindscapes, which also received several buffs in this hotfix. Her Mindscape 1 resistance shred buff has been increased from 16% to 18%. This means enemies affected by this effect will lose slightly more resistance, allowing the team to deal more damage overall. Her Mindscape 2 stun damage multiplier increase has also been buffed, going from 20% up to 30%. This is actually a pretty meaningful increase and could significantly improve damage during stun windows. Lastly, her Mindscape 6 received a large daze buff, increasing its daze bonus from 20% all the way up to 50%. That's a huge jump and definitely makes her highest Mindscape level much more impactful. Overall, this latest round of hotfix changes paints a pretty clear picture of the direction the developers are taking with Nangongyou. Her baseline performance as a pure stunner has been weakened due to multiple daze nerfs across her abilities. However, at the same time, the supportive aspects of her kit have been improved through buffs to team damage, anomaly buildup, and Mindscape effects. In other words, it seems like the developers might be shifting her role slightly away from being a dominant stun generator and more toward a hybrid support stun character that provides strong team utility. Overall, her baseline role as a stunner has been nerfed with multiple days nerfs, but the buffs she offers have been buffed as well to compensate. But would it be enough, or even close to what she could have been? Not exactly. Even with the supportive improvements, it's still hard to ignore how much stun power she has lost compared to her earlier beta version. That said, she still has a lot of interesting mechanics and team synergy potential. If the developers continue adjusting her numbers in future updates, there's still a chance that she might end up in a much more balanced and satisfying stage before her official release. By the way, if we can hit 14,000 subscribers, LD Shop will give away 10 Internaut memberships to you guys. Comment and subscribe to participate.
Welcome back to your weekly roundup of everything that happened in Zenless Zone Zero, where we will cover everything that you missed inside and outside of the game. How did everybody's Aria pulls go? Assuming that you did pull for her last week, that is. Did she come early? Did you have to go to pity? And did you win the 50-50? Let me know down in the comments below while my pulls go on in the background here. Otherwise, aside from the currently ongoing Gravity Theater event, as well as the Beepon login campaign, there is only one other new event starting this week. But thankfully, it is arguably one of the best types of events in the game, and that is the Snap Hollow Realm Showdown camera event. This is the event we all know and love, where we'll be able to take photos mid-combat. This time around with some new filters as well as some new features compared to although, despite nothing being announced just yet, if you do manage to grab any cool looking photos, be sure to hold on to them because the last the official Zenless Zone Zero channels held a competition where submitting your photos from the event could earn you some rewards. And so maybe they'll do that again this time around too. So do keep an eye out for those. Interestingly of note, I do want to say though, for this patch, is that in the second half of the patch, there are no double drop periods schedules for combat simulation stages. So there was only the disc drive double drops in the first half of the patch. I just thought it was funny to point that out. But otherwise, this coming Friday is going to be our regularly scheduled Deadly Assault reset. This week, the bosses on rotation are the Miasmic Fiend, the Miasma Ravager, and the Notorious Pompeii, who we haven't seen in quite a while actually. Speaking of Fridays, last Friday was actually that live stream for Fluttering Wings from the Angels of Delusion on their official YouTube channel. It was quite a cute little stream with the Angels also playing a game that definitely wasn't a subtle Astra x Evelyn ship game. But if you're a fan of the Angels or even of Astra and Evelyn, it's a great watch honestly, I'd highly recommend it. I'll have a link to the stream in the description below. But that is not the only stream we'll be getting out of them though, because coming up later this week on the 14th will be another special guest live stream too. If that first stream was anything to go by, I'm sure that the next one will also be just as enjoyable. And on the topic of streams, the current patch is scheduled to end in about 2 weeks on the 21st of March. Of course, that means that we are very likely to see a 2.7 stream incoming this Friday on the 13th. As always, though, don't worry if you cannot make time to watch it, as I will have a recap video going over everything as always, so be sure to subscribe to be notified for when that does go up. As a reminder though, with Arya being added to the game now, that also means that her new outfit is available for purchase too in the shop for a discounted period while her banner is still live. Now, if you're in need of some monochrome to buy that outfit, or maybe you want to buy a few monthly internet memberships, which does give a couple of monochrome with each purchase, I've got just the thing for you. Why not try using LD Shop? Especially considering you can get $10, you will also gain a VIP membership which can earn you free internet memberships and regular coupons. Once again, you can check out the description and the pinned comment to start saving with LD Shop. Moving on to social media news though, if you've been watching for a while, then you might remember that when we first few battles, the official Zenless Zone Zero would occasionally for example, coming up with new outfits for Jane, or just growing fan up in general for Shuyen. I'll be honest, I don't know why they stopped doing that, but something that was interesting this past week is that people that posted fan art using the Angels of Delusion hashtag, Art of Delusion, ended up having their art reposted by the official Zenless Zone Zero account. So I suppose that it's a kind of a nice thing for some of the artists to get their work out there, getting paid in exposure, I guess. So if you've been making some Angels of Delusion fan art, make sure that you're tagging it with the Art of Delusion tag, because apparently the marketing team is monitoring the hashtag for some nice looking art. I'm unsure if maybe the winners do actually get something in reward that they handle privately, because I'm sure they would have to ask for permission to get those art to repost, but you never know. Otherwise, if you're looking for some Zenless Zone Zero merch of your own though, then good news. Some official merchandise is available now on Amazon for a limited time period between March 5th and March 18th. This includes the Good Smile Company pop-up parade figures of the Faith and Siblings, Belle and Weiss, some Bamboo plush charms as well as standee surprise boxes, Nendoroid figures of the Faith and Siblings, as well as scale figures for Nicole and Billy from the Cunning Hares. There is also a bunch of other Bamboo related charms to buy, as well as various acrylic stands featuring different mindscapes or story art of the various agents. And there are also some standees and charms featuring designs from a special Sparkling Wonderland band featuring Ellen, Astra, Harumasa, Miyabi, and Andy. Alongside those stands, there is also a tote bag available with the same characters in that band featured on it. And then there is a special event over on Twitter called You Pick the Next Song. If you follow the official Zenless Zone Zero Twitter account, by taking a screenshot of the GIF in the tweet that is linked in the description below, and then leaving that as a comment alongside the corresponding hashtags AOD and Aria, you stand a chance to win a $20 Amazon gift card or one of the line is strong. Celebrate Aria's release last week. Of course, there was her PC release and downloading. So alongside this, there is also a Twitter event that is actually ending pretty soon, so you better take part quickly while you still can. but by following the official Zenless Zone Zero account and then reposting the linked tweet in the description below, which features the new EP, you will stand a chance to win a random Pop Mart Zenless Zone Zero Bangbu figure. To carry on with the ongoing set of collaborations as part of the Sugar Rush campaign, there is also now a collaboration between Zenless Zone Zero and Umi T. I'm not entirely sure how it's pronounced, but there is a collaboration going on that will feature special drinks as well as merchandise, which will be available in limited quantities on a first-come, first-served basis. This includes things like a special plush, badges, magnets, and a thermal bag. The collaboration will be from March 9th all the way up until April 20th, and on March 29th specifically, there will be an offline pop-up event at the store where some cosplayers will be appearing too. And then lastly, moving on to the speculation zone. We've got some new info for one of the upcoming disc sets in patch 2.7, which also might give us some insight into one of the upcoming agents. As mentioned before, one of these disc sets does look very much stylized around Promea, and we know that the details of this disc set to be the following. For the 2-piece set effect, it increases ice damage by 10%. Fairly standard and simple for the 2-piece effect. But for the 4-piece effect, whenever the user triggers a bloom, their anomaly proficiency is increased by 48 for 30 seconds. And then more specifically, when the equipper triggers freeze, so the ice anomaly, their anomaly damage as well as disorder damage is increased by 16% for 30 seconds. Of course, the values on these could be changed by the time that they do release, but as for the effects themselves at a base level, based on these effects and the look of the disc set, I think it is pretty safe to say that Promea will very likely be an ice anomaly agent focusing on triggering blooms, much like many of the other anomaly agents that we've been seeing as of late. Now, of course, when seeing ice anomaly, the immediate thing that everyone will jump to is comparisons with Miyabi, who, despite being over a year old, is still a powerhouse to this day, and probably the one agent that most people own already. So when Promea does eventually come around, it will be interesting to see what types of buffs and enemies the devs will implement to try and promote people to pull for Promea while still somehow restricting people from just using Miyabi anyway to clear everything without the need for the new shiny toy. They cannot necessarily make it resist ice, and them being anomaly is also an issue because anomaly and disorder damage will both help out Miyabi anyway. So maybe they'll focus specifically on that potential of bloom aspect. Again, it would be hard to think that they could come up with that could potentially power kick Miyabi without making Miyabi still seem broken with those chill effects. But who knows, maybe Promea could be another anomaly agent that could compete with Miyabi, or maybe she could be an anomaly agent that will somehow support Miyabi, making her even more busted. Only time will tell though. But otherwise, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then liking, commenting and subscribing is greatly appreciated. But until next time, bye bye!
Na festa do fim de semana, só um rolê bom. Ela chega e desencana com passo bem solto, passo bem solto.
Stand down. I see that. Back from the Astra, darling. Listen.
Fim de semana. Do fim de semana.
Leave it to me. Leave it to me. The QingYi month. Rinse the heavens.
Fim de semana. 幸せについて討論何が正義なんかって思う生意気そうにがむかんでそれもいいないいなって思うテレスコープ越しの感情廊下に全部詰め込んだ踊ってないように知らない
Like this sword ray. Send you away! A measure of steel slices the world through! Frost blizzard! Radiant cloud!
思ってるだけで行動きっとないと音楽も踊るダンスでダンスする現状これはチャンスなんかって思うカスタネットがほらタンタンタタタタンタタンタンタタンタン踊ってない夜を知らない人とかこの世に一人もございません踊ってない夜を知らない踊ってない夜が君知らない踊ってない夜が知らない踊ってない夜が君知らない
Your wasting YiXuan didn't play something, breaking all illusions! QingYi's might rends the heavens! QingYi's might rends the heavens! I'll be fine! YiXuan Sunna, breaking all illusions! Leave it to me! Let this sword array send you away! YiXuan Sunna, breaking all illusions! The line is gone. With this sword, I'll banish all evil. m③w②Sunna, breaking all illusions! Send you away!
By your passion for greatness, with adversity and bad situations, in the middle of the path that we take, but it's what you do that makes. When you quit it, when you stand up and face it, tell me, do you have what it takes to come back when this life asks for the pay? Can you tell me to look after the dreams and the punchlines and they put you flat on your face? Get back,
A measure of steel slices the world through! QingYi's might rends the heavens! I'll be fine! It's recovered! Stand down!
Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. Gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Witnessing a chance in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness.
Send you away!
With adversity in bad situations, meet us in the middle of the path that we take. But it's what you do that when you quit it, when you stand up and face it. Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when it's like ass for the face? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when the punch lands and it puts you flat on your face?
Leave it to me!
When you stand up and say, get back, lit back to the flames. Tell you that man is all. But it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is get back up when you fall. Gotta get up.
Sword follows my will, and with power in the heavens!
The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. Tragedy and bad situations meet us in the middle of the path that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when the punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? After you wake, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to